Hello, my name is Sima Shakhsari and I teach at the University of Minnesota. I'm going to speak to you today about the devastating effects of sanctions and war on the Iranian people. I left Iran in 1989, but I lived in Iran during the 8-year war between Iran and Iraq. At that point, Saddam Hussein was backed by the United States and used weaponry provided by the US or dropped chemical bombs from Germany that, with the approval of the United States, on Iranian people. There are still people who are affected by those bombs. Some of them are still alive. And I, like many people who lived through the 8-year war with Iraq, remember what it meant to live under the bombs, what it meant to go to school under missiles, or to lose friends, to lose people in the neighborhood, and to basically live under complete political repression exactly because of the rise of nationalism during the war. Now, what we're dealing with, or the Iranian people in particular are dealing with, are deadly sanctions. And people often assume that sanctions are an alternative to war, but I believe that sanctions are war in another name. Sanctions are a slow way of killing a population, and the Iranian people have been living under sanctions for a long time. And this, of course, precedes Trump's presidency. The first sanctions, in fact, were imposed on the Iranian people in the 1950s with the nationalization of oil. So sanctions often have to do with the geopolitical interests of the US. In post-revolutionary Iran, pretty much the whole 40 years has been under the sanctions. In different times, the sanctions have become tightened. For example, in 2010, during Obama's presidency, Obama basically made the sanctions, as he called it, crippling, and indeed it was crippling on the Iranian economy and Iranian people. My academic work is with Iranian queer and trans refugee applicants in Turkey. And one of the things that I see in my work is that the number of people who left Iran after the tightening of sanctions increased significantly. And this includes not just, for example, trans people who used to get subsidies from the Iranian state for gender-affirming surgeries, but many other people who live in the margins of the Iranian society, including Afghan refugees. There are some like 2.5 million Afghan refugees who live in Iran, who left Afghanistan in the 80s and 90s with the rise of Taliban, but also after the occupation of Afghanistan by the US forces in early 2000s. So many Afghan people have lived in Iran, but after 2010, with the tightening of sanctions, a large number of Afghan people left Iran because they were scapegoated. The Iranian state wasn't generous anymore with refugees, and of course, many Iranian people had to work 2 or more jobs to make the ends meet. And of course, in these times, those who are discriminated against in the job market are refugees.